Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Mr. McFadden Cooking Show, Volume 1, Smoothies. So, I'm so glad that you all could tune in to this week's lesson, which is on smoothies. So, this is our first cooking recipe that we're doing. And I always like to start with smoothies a lot because when I was looking at your 2-day diet tracking and your diet log and your essay, a lot of you are missing enough fruit in your diet. A lot of you are also sometimes not getting enough dairy. And I like the smoothie recipe, this one, because it hits both fruit and dairy. Now, this recipe contains a pudding pack that we put in there. This sweetens the smoothie and it also thickens it so that it stays thick all the way to the bottom. If you are looking to make a smoothie with less sugar in it, you can leave the pudding pack out and you can substitute in ice, and ice will thicken the smoothie. You should be warned that if you don't drink it all like right away, it does get really watery. Okay, so we are using a blender, and there are some safety things to consider with the blender. These knife blades are very sharp, and if you have them in your wash sink and you reach in soapy water and you grab them, they could cut you. So please be careful. I store my blender taken apart because I wash it completely every time. So there are four parts to the blender. There is the blender part, a rubber gasket ring, the knife blades, and a screw-on lid. And it has to go on like this, or when you pour in your liquid, it will leak all over. The rubber gasket has to touch the metal knife blades and the glass lid. So the metal gasket, or the rubber gasket, the knife blades, then this piece screws on. Okay, now your blender will not leak. Your blender has a lid as well. Don't ever run your blender without the lid on. It could fly up, stuff flying out, making a huge mess, and that's not what you want to have happen, especially in your mother's kitchen. Okay. Blender controls. You know, there are a lot of different brands of blenders out there. They are all very similar to one another, and they often have many buttons going across the edge here. When you start down here, it's slower. Up here is faster, and it's better to start out slow and work your way up. This one has a little dial that's like a low and a high. So your blender at home may be a little bit different, but it's probably very similar. And if you just look at the buttons, you can figure it out because you are smart children. Okay. The smoothie recipe that we're using is attached on Google Classroom, so you can look at it. And it's the one that says frozen strawberries, orange juice, vanilla pudding, cold milk. Everything goes into the blender. Everything goes in together. Now, if you don't like strawberries, you can use any kind of fruit you like, fresh or frozen. And that will work in this smoothie. I've got frozen strawberries. These were about $7 for this big bag. And we're just going to use 2 cups. Now, those of you who watched and did the measurement lesson that was posted up on Monday, then you know that we can measure the strawberries in a liquid measuring cup because it'll work just fine because of the, they're not gonna level off on their own, right? We can't level them off. So 2 cups, which is this whole container of frozen strawberries. Smoothies are really nice because they're really forgiving. If you put a little too much strawberry or a little too much orange juice or not enough banana or whatever, it's not going to hurt the strawberry at all. It tells us 3/4 of a cup of frozen orange juice. Now you could go get out a measurement and measure out 3/4 of a cup, but listen to old Mr. McFadden and the wisdom I have for you. It's half of the container. Just take half of the container and then save the rest. You can put some plastic wrap over it, stick it back in the freezer. As long as you use it within a few days to a week, it'll be fine. It won't get all nasty and freezer burned, and you can just make another smoothie later in the week. So half of the container. And I'm just gonna scoop it out with a spoon here. You can see that I just left half of that in there. You know, this brand of orange juice that I bought has a little lid that actually snaps back on. So I can just snap that little lid back on and I can put this back in the freezer and it'll be just fine. Okay. Our next thing is our pudding mix. And again, yes, if you don't want the extra sweetness in yours, you can use ice to thicken. But this is just a nice, easy way, and it actually makes it taste kind of like an Orange Julius. I don't know if you guys remember Orange Julius that used to be in the mall here, but they're kind of yummy, and these kind of make these taste like Orange Julius, in my opinion. All right, so the liquid measuring cup, we are measuring liquid, milk. So remember, from the lesson on measurement, liquid measurement, we're gonna fill this up to this line. We wanna have it sitting on a flat surface and just pour it in. And then get your eye down there so that you can see when you are right at your 2 cups. Okay. In the milk goes. This is when you find out if you put your rubber ring in wrong. Put our lid on. I can still see some stuff sticking to the side of the blender. I'm gonna scrape it off with my rubber spatula. Never while the blender is running, for 2 reasons. You don't wanna be sticking this in on a moving blade, and running this with the lid off is asking for a disaster. Okay, so I'm just gonna give a little scrape down the sides here. Thick. There we go. I can see it making a whirlpool. Patrick, can you bring the camera in close and see if you can't get a shot of what's going on inside there? All right. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you to my brother Patrick, who is acting as cameraman for the Mr. McFadden cooking show. Okay, now I've got my smoothie done. This is gonna make enough for a family of, like, you could stretch this out for 6 easily. And smoothies for everybody. And they are delicious. Now, you can show me how you did your smoothie. You are welcome to use this recipe, any other recipe I post in there, or a smoothie recipe of your own. You send me a picture of your smoothie, or if you don't have the ability to make a smoothie, then you write for me a quick paragraph on smoothies and submit it as a Google Doc on Google Classroom. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys are staying safe. I miss you.